How's it, everybody? Welcome to the recap series. Over the next few weeks, the Tots and I will be hard at work remembering all the fun and exciting things we got up to back in the day, and we figured it would be a great idea to record all of us struggling to remember every leg of the adventure. There's no real guidelines to these, and everybody's going to put their own little flourish on it, so do feel free to check out everybody's perspectives, as we're all going to remember things a little bit differently. So there's going to be one of these recaps for each of the players, and then one from me as well as we prepare for our official return to the Laris region. So please enjoy the struggles and the chaos of these, and we'll see you on the other side.
Hello friends, it's me, and it's time for another recap, or the first recap. We don't know what order these are going in, who knows.
It's a recap.
So, I'm ready to go. I will say that I have a slight advantage as I was the one that made all the thumbnails and came up with maybe 85% of the titles, so
Better.
I should know what I referenced, but it'll be more embarrassing when I'm like, I don't know.
You also edited all of them.
Yeah.
So there's no excuse for, I don't remember that. You spent twice as much time with these as everybody else.
I'm going to try to keep it concise and from Milo's perspective, but here we go. Let's see what happens.
All right, let's start strong.
Yes.
Session 1.
Leaving home. Yes.
Oh, here we go. A good start already.
Session 1, leaving home. Obviously, we left home. Next. No, I'm just kidding.
That's all you get.
Phoebe and I caught the first two Pokemon of the campaign, being William and Violet. There were some shenanigans in some tents, some raiding, and meeting of other travelers. There was a lot of nervousness. We were sad that we forgot toilet paper, which became kind of an in-joke as COVID began. And at the lack of people on the road, but all in all, it started off pretty strong. We met the Lyle fam, and it was pretty low-key, yep. Session 2, stretching our wings.
I don't even need to be here. Extra.
So this one's kind of funny because I named this because I sent Monty to Oriander to mail a letter. It was like a nice successor to the first title, but it also referenced that. So I sent Monty away for the first time. Now that I had Violet, so I had another Pokemon to use, so I wasn't by myself. And then it ended on the cliffhanger of Phoebe being bit, and that's when we knew no one was safe. Just immediately, Session 2, Phoebe rolled a nat 1 and was dying of poison, so that was pretty intense. That's how that one ended. Mm-hmm. And then 3, a venomous exchange.
How far is he gonna
I don't
go?
know. I don't know. It's not gonna be very long.
3 in a row.
We did the battle against the spiders. Tia had to wait off screen for a bit, which was funny.
In case she died.
Yep. The critical stick moment happened. We talked more with, I think, because everyone keeps saying that Lyle was after him, but I'm pretty sure he was before. Because it's kind of foreshadowing. Because after he was bit, we basically built like this god-awful stretcher. I rubbed Barry in her wounds. And we ran to Oriander to Ansem to try to get her recovered. I'm not 100% sure what all happened in Oriander in Season 3, but we kind of got like Session 3. The lay of the land and the buildings and the people and whatnot, which goes to Session 4, which I don't remember the title of.
Battle.
Oh, I thought that was 6.
For money.
Because I know 5 is not you not to. But 4, Will Battle for Money, was a case of us wanting to find some NPCs to fight. So I know Bentley took a crack at it and took on such memorable foes as Cassius the Gaseous and Arm Circle's Magnemite, Togepi and Slurgma. Some real classics. And then CJ goes, let me take a crack at this. And he found the shadiest guy. And bad choice. And we got in a crazy battle with Team Rocket. Dude, he had like 30 Zubats, a Crobat, a Noctowl, Crash bit his leg off. The Crobat bit him and flew away. And yeah, that was intense. That's how we met like Mitch and Terry, or just Mitch and Wild Bill and Frichter Hya and
That's his surname.
yeah. And then session 5 started. That was Not You, Natu, right? Mm-hmm. And we did a little bit of a split. CJ and I went to go talk to Ansem a little bit more. We met his partner Miles, the Alolan Sandshrew. Learned about some of the experiments he was doing. And we each got some frozen Golbat venom that we heard was sticky, a little explosive. It was one of the things he was working on. And then on the other half, it was Phoebe, Tegan, and Bentley exploring the Stetson Farms. Because previously we had seen Champ, the Apom, with a anklet that was controlling him like a robot. And that came from Stetson Farms. So they went to investigate. They got some free berries. I don't think they learned anything in terms of what we wanted to try to investigate. But free berries were cool. They saw a Natu that was like doing surveillance. And then when we were getting ready to leave town, I saw a Natu and I did a little battle with him, and Monty bopped him in the head and killed him in one shot. And I was going to add him to my team and train him. And then Tegan and Phoebe were like, we think he's working for the bad guys. And they said that they didn't trust him. So I unfortunately had to say goodbye to the Natu and send him on his way. And then we moved on to 6, which I believe is... No?
5.5.
Oh, Bentley's Profitable Morning.
Who could forget? The all-time classic.
Yeah, Bentley fought more people and made more money. And we met Gil, the guy who got
His
so much...
obsession. He got more screen time than
any other NPC, yeah. Then 6, which is Caught Between a Mareep and a Hard Place, in which I broke character a little bit because I love Mareep, and I made Milo on a Mareep. And we went to go get said Mareep, and it couldn't have gone worse. It was running away, so it was taking all of my motion to keep up. Hit him, I would get static recoil, and then everyone's like, alright, we'll help you. And then it started to climb a mountain, and then it just wiped us all out. Nearly killed Koa. I can't remember. I feel like I threw a Pokeball and then it broke out anyway, or Violet knocked it out and I couldn't get up there to throw the Pokeball before it got up from its own death save and ran away. One of those two things happened. Okay.
Fairly certain there. We'll find out in my recap what I say happened versus what actually happened.
Whatever you say happened is canon, whether you're right or wrong.
Even if I said it in the past, I'll overwrite it. Overprove.
So yeah, that was depressing and didn't go our way at all. But I do remember, as a silver lining cloud at the end of it, Bentley did get Evinrude. We saw a shiny Yanma after, I think he was at a 99 or 100 that he rolled.
It was one of the two, I believe.
With the raspberry, right?
Yeah.
And then he threw the Pokeball and he rolled a 99. On a crit perception too, I think, to see it.
He crit his perception check to see it. He got a 99 out of 100 on the raspberry and the catch.
Yep.
Very, very. It was meant to be.
Oh yeah. So that's how that one ended. What are we on? 7?
7.
I don't remember what 7 is.
Spud and Pops.
Spud and Pops.
The best one.
I have sat in on some other recaps, and it's really funny how everyone just remembers that they were good, but not like any of the context of it.
I don't remember anything about it.
Yeah. So it was a Bellsprout and an Oddish named Spud and Pops versus an Electabuzz. It was like two guys, and they were battling, and the Electabuzz had won like 99 times. And Jordan and I controlled Spud and Pops, and the rolls couldn't have been more in our favor, and we destroyed them. We destroyed Electabuzz, and we killed it. And then he was like, sweet, I'm on top of the world. And then completely metagaming it, Jordan and I are like, our rolls are on fire. And so if we fight them with Howl and Growl, two fire types, we'll clean house at this rate. But turns out it wasn't our rolls that were good. It was Spud and Pop's rolls that were good because they continued to decimate us. We didn't stand a chance. So it's just really funny. We attributed it to our skill, and it was not our skill. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so at this point, I don't think I've caught anyone else except for, like I mentioned, Violet and Howl. Jordan has Growl and Bang. Bentley has Evinrude and Mortar. And Phoebe has William and Nubster. And I don't think anyone else yet. I feel like I'm wrong on that, though.
I'm trying to think back through her team. I don't know who her third acquisition is. Or I guess second, because she would have started with Nubster.
Yeah, it goes to Nubster, then William, and then I think next is Shirley in session 9, and then BB in the Ironbreaker Mines. Anyway, yeah.
We're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yes, session 8 is Big City Alluvia. We finally show up in the big city, and we go explore. So when we come across our first Rite of Learning, which is really cool, and everyone kind of starts to learn some new moves or learn some new things, some new strategies. We meet the gym leader, who does not speak, and her Chatot, who does the speaking for her, and we got some lessons there. We met the mayor, Deacon Halsey, who was a loud man who was controlling the city, but we weren't 100% sure if he was just like a dumb puppet or like just secretly smart. It was one of the two. It was either end of the spectrum. It couldn't be in the middle. We met Xavier, of course, crowd favorite Officer Dan.
Officer Daniel.
Yep.
The fixation on the
certain
3 NPCs
ones.
you guys know is so good. Alright, we go to a city of approximately 6,000 people. Do I see Officer Daniel? Do I see him?
Man.
No, he's 8 blocks that way in a cafe.
That's all I've got for that one at the minute. I think next is Gym Battles.
Gym Battles.
I won. It was a narrow victory, but they held out. I did the race challenge first, which was good because it was Sky Hoops and it was versus Duo. So that worked out in my favor. And then it was what's the middle one? Why can't I remember it? The third one was Endurance. My third one was Endurance. What's the middle one?
Strong. So just straight fight.
Oh, okay. Yeah, straight fight. I think it was against like a Skip Loom or something.
Yeah.
And then the Endurance one, and then we got to the end, and I think it was you could choose how many people you wanted, and I did 1-on-1, and it was I'm pretty sure it was Monty versus Xatu, which I picked because he had previous experience one-bopping a Natu, and the dark bonus against a psychic type, and it was close for sure. I think the Skarmory helped a little bit. But I got my badge, which is the most important because it's the flying badge, and of all the gym badges I would want to not have to redo, that's the one. So yeah, I did good. Everyone won that one, but that was my experience with it. 9 was Don't Eat at Dino's or Ernie's. That was just more exploration of the city, the various areas, shops, restaurants, and such. We stopped at Dino's, who was serving up Pokemon meat, and we were a little disgusted. I can't remember who. It was CJ or Bentley, but someone asked like black market questions, and we got turned to Ernie's, who we then asked about his black market specials, and we heard about Pokemon he had, mainly in Electabuzz, and we didn't do it. And everyone regretted it from that day forward, not buying it, to free him, which is silly because we'd just be perpetuating the market, but it is what it is. And then we left Alluvia, and it ended with the Shirley Battle, which was just the longest, most ridiculous battle.
It is the first session that's over 2 hours.
And
by a lot.
I distinctly remember the end or the beginning of session 9 or 10 had audio issues because I remember having to re-upload like 4 different versions of the one with Shirley in it, and it's still an issue to this day. So I've tried so many times. I've reduced the silence from like 30 minutes down to 9. It's like that's as good as it's getting at this point.
Yikes.
Yeah. 10 is that the lone survivor or is that 11?
That's 11.
Dang it. What's 10?
Good. What's in between?
In
between the one you know and the one you just finished.
I don't remember.
It involves you heavily.
In the title?
In all things.
I don't remember.
Excuse me, chef, would you like a hint?
Just tell me the title.
That was your hint.
Just tell me.
Making a little buddy.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Making a little buddy. Chef.
This is
Chef
when
hints.
I met Little Buddy, who soon gets renamed. He's a little Cyndaquil. We met him. There's a huge canyon, and I met him during my watch. I had early morning watch. CJ saw a Rapidash, I believe, on his watch, and it went down to the canyon, and I met a Cyndaquil, and then I woke everyone up because I wanted to go meet him, and he was like pointing like, go this way, and I was like, okay. So we followed him to this rickety bridge, and I just wanted to cross it. There's a bridge. It's just this way you do. You just walk across the bridge. It's no big deal. And then Bentley went to cross the bridge, and he almost died by a razor's edge. Bang saved his life and grabbed him from falling off that bridge. And then no one else wanted to go across it, which is acceptable. So it's just me on one side with Little Buddy and everyone else on the other side. And so we sent Violet one way and Evinrude the other way to look for another bridge and have them come back because they were our 2 fastest flyers available at the time. And so we waited for a bit. Violet did not come back. Evinrude did come back. So I was concerned. They went to go follow Evinrude to the bridge. I went the way Violet went because I was concerned she hadn't come back, and she was being eaten by a Weepinbell, a very southern Weepinbell, in which I used Little Buddy in his first ever battle, and he helped free Violet, and they took down the Weepinbell, and we did it. And we went and caught up with everyone else eventually and made our way towards the desert. Then, is this 11?
This is
No,
11.
I'm going to start forgetting numbers here, but 11 is Lone Survivor. We're going through the desert. Big sandstorm's coming, so we see, I can't remember if we see Pendleton and then the cave, or the cave and that's where we meet him. But regardless, we're in a cave and we meet a little Teddy Ursa bear, and he's got like expedition gear, and there's a skeleton in there, and it's his dead former friend, and it was sad. And we saw the guy's journal, and he's this like researcher explorer, and they were in caves or something, and they saw this big metal monster, and just a lot of chaos happened, and he died from wounds eventually. We don't know the state of everyone else, but it seems as though it may have been in connection to, or Pendleton may know, Tegan and her family, so that was an interesting tie. We waited for the storm to pass and asked Pendleton to escort us to Session 12, Xantha the Ghost Town, or the Ghost Town Xantha, I can't remember the order.
You were right the first time.
And he waited outside of town, but we went in. We went to the local inn to rest up. We met Javier and his partner, Kaz the Kadabra, and we got some rooms. CJ met Spencer, who would become CJ's Gil, and he painted him a picture of Crash as Totodile. And then things were getting a little spooky. I think Bentley found a book, or Phoebe found a book. One of them found a book, and a ghastly face appeared. And definitely one licked CJ. I remember that because his face got numb. And he had to come warn all of us. And then we went to go downstairs to investigate, or we saw Kaz/Javier running to the desert where Pendleton was. So then we went downstairs, and there were a bunch of Ghastlies and ghosts, and we had to fight them off. And it was funny watching little buddy crawl down the stairs with his tiny body.
He's so cute.
And he got licked and paralyzed, and I had to step in and save him. Felt so bad for him. And we defeated the ghosts, and we knocked the ghosts out of the bodies. So it's like they were puppeting dead bodies. Not really 100% sure on the logistics of that, but that was happening. Then, excuse me. We went out to save Pendleton, and that's when we started to hear inklings about things. And then we went to the old research station, which was the next session. And
13.
Pendleton took us there, and it had this computer that we happened to sign into, and it had all these videos that were awful. One of them was Pendleton going Jason Bourne on some starter Pokemon and killing him. There was one where they killed a Ponyta or something similar. I think it was a pickaxe to the face. And then one was an Abra. No was written all over the walls. And then
The
no hole, which is what I was getting to, which was it was so funny because he blew a hole. He blew a hole in the wall, and then we were calling it the no hole, and Drew called it this cavernous opening, and then everyone thought he meant it was an actual cave.
Yeah, we'll go in the cave.
We're there's no cave.
It's a hole in the wall. The no hole.
There were presumptions that this Abra became Kaz. I don't think we ever got actual hard confirmation on that, but that was a thing. And then we started to learn a little bit about the war itself. This is where that kind of started to trickle in a little bit. The War of the Architects, and how there was something called the Prime Mind, and it had been accumulating this power somehow, and it was a war of Pokemon versus people. And that's all I have to say about that session, because the next one is a picture. No. The next one is Ghost from a Dark Past.
Yep.
That's when we were going to leave, and Kaz showed up, and he's like, "Give me this bear, you loser kids." And we're like, "No, fight me, Dad." And he summoned the ghosts of the 3 starters. It was a Charmander, a Squirtle, and a Bulbasaur. And we fought with them for a while, and it was intense and scary. And I convinced Bentley to throw a Pokeball at the Squirtle, and it went through it, and he couldn't catch it. And we won that battle.
Love story than Twilight.
Then we fought Kaz for a little bit, and we were doing pretty well. I thought I would use that Golbat Venom from Ansem in the Squirtle shell bone and smash it on his head, and it didn't work at all. So I put the Venom back in my backpack, and I said, for a later day. And Kaz was running away. CJ and Crash were chasing him. Javier, who was his buddy, started to come to and was like, "No, I was being puppeted by this Kadabra. He's not my friend." Got a little more insight into that. And then that ended, and then I believe it was Jim's again. Or is there another one? What's the next one? Cause and Effect. I've merged 2 together.
More.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, is it the Mines first?
Yeah.
Okay. So then what's after Ghosts of a Dark Past?
Cause and Effect.
Okay, that's when we fought Kaz. I already went
Then it's
through
the
it.
Mines.
Then it's the Mines. Ironbreaker Mines.
We got separate out last session.
We went into one mine, and we were ill prepared, and a Dunsparce spooked us, so we left immediately. And then we went to our first shop, and we met Shay, and we got some provisions for our actual trek into the mines, which was pretty cool. And then we went in, which was the worst mistake we've ever made. And we went into a different mine this time. Walking around, checking out, met some Sandshrew. They kind of gave us a tour around, and then they had signs like, "Hey, there's a thing over here, and it's dangerous, and you shouldn't go." And we were kids, so we're like, "That sounds like fun. Let's do it." And we went to it, and it was this big red crystal spire, and we had no idea what it was. And then Mortar, Bentley's Magby, was drawn to it, and he touched it. and he didn't want to let go, and he was getting kind of mad with power, and we had to get him off, and Bentley pulled him off, but he ripped a chunk out, which is horrifying if you've seen Ragnarok. Like, oh my god, that's awful. And then we were trying to leave, and we were being chased by the metal monster, previously mentioned in the Pendleton Friends journal. So we were running from it. We got in a mine cart, and that's when the next one started, right? A test of skill. And we had to try to maneuver the minecart, stop the minecart, be safe and not die in the minecart. And we had to come up with these ideas on how to stop it. And in the end, it was William was able to dislodge a rock with his sticky centret pickup hands and fix the brakes for us so that we could stop appropriately, while 3 people are basically skiing on the back of a minecart with a nubster shooting out snow so that they don't die in the rubble. We do meet Boysenberry, a Thai rogue. He's training down there. CJ battles him with Bang, and it's a crazy battle. And after everyone goes, wow, CJ, that'd be a cool Pokemon for your team, he goes, I don't listen to peer pressure, and he keeps walking. And then Phoebe goes, I'll patch him up, and heals him up with some medicine. And then she's like, you know what? I'll take you instead. And so Phoebe gets Boysenberry.
In a wild twist of fate.
Yep. And so we keep going. We're in the mines for like 8 more sessions. At least it felt like it.
No.
We're out after that one, right?
Yeah, you're only in the mines for 2 sessions.
Well,
but
debatable.
There's a mysterious third.
Yes.
That we always talk about.
Yes,
but it doesn't
you'll never
count.
see it.
It's gone.
In that universe, Phoebe has no legs.
It's gone. Phoebe has no leg. She's missing a leg.
And we killed a
cut the arm off
graveler.
a
We
graveler
killed
with
a
a driller.
graveler. Oh, so bad. I'm not saying anything else.
With some high-tech drilling equipment.
What's the one after that called?
Claw and
Order. Okay, at this point we've met Ruby then, and Arthur. So that's where we're getting our war intel. And we go to him because he's the geologist.
Yep.
And we show him the rock, and he's like super wowed and kind of scared that we have it. And Bentley mails it home. And then we're there with Ruby. Ruby cooks us breakfast. Jordan falls in love. CJ, excuse me. And then we decide, this is another metagame moment, that we as players did not explore Alluvia to its entirety, so we should make up for it by over-exploring Xantha. Let's just overcorrect. So we decide to split up. Phoebe and I want to learn more about the war, so we're going to go talk to Javier. We don't learn all too much there. Bentley and CJ go to a courthouse and get up to all sorts of shenanigans. The 2 ones I'll keep it brief to are they meet a gloom that they help out because it was stuck because the floor had rotted, and they find a Paris and 2 Magnemite, and Bentley battles some of the Magnemite, and then he also battles the Paris, who is eating another bug. He battles it with Yanma, which was giving a shark a bucket of chum, but he pulls it off. He catches the Paris, leaves the Magnemite, does not catch it. That's people often, when they're recounting these tales, forget that the Magnemite was not captured. And they leave, and they come back to us because they're like, hey, Phoebe might like this gloom because she's into berries and stuff. Maybe she'll like this plant Pokemon. So they come back, and Phoebe goes, cool, yeah, let's go. And we go to the gloom, and with Arthur, or just Diana, someone we just met with Arthur. She's a researcher person as well. And we're like, yeah, this gloom makes seeds and fruit. And she's like, cool. And we all go, and then Diana goes, mine, and catches it. And Phoebe goes, how dare you? And then that kind of opens the door later for our good friend Sage the Oddish. But I believe that is that one. I don't remember what number we're on.
19. Digging up some battles.
So this is Derby. We come across a bunch of Diglett, and we have a very, very close race. It's pretty cool. And a whole bunch of Diglett. And one of the Diglets is kind of hanging around. And then Milo gets the idea, like, hey, he could probably deliver, because my character wants to be a mailman, you know, and that's his bird, is a delivery bird, and he likes delivering mail. But maybe this little guy can deliver mail through the tunnels in the ground. That'd be kind of neat. So in a battle, he has Derby sneak some items off to Bang, I believe, and come back. And he's like, yeah, that was kind of fun. I like that. So Milo's like, cool, I'll add you to my team. And he catches Derby. And that's how I get my next team member. And what's the thumbnail? Because I think that's another hint to something.
It's you and Phoebe and Monty.
Okay, so that's pretty much what that is. I don't remember anything else.
Okay. Gyms.
Gyms. I lost at the third battle, which was the one with the doors in the middle. So, like, every time something got knocked out, the corresponding door would fall over, and then, like, those groups would merge together. So there'd be one here and one here on both teams, but when this fell down, it'd be a double battle. But one of them was knocked out, so it's 2-on-1. So it'd just be this big cascade. I lost there. Then I did a salty run back, and I did everything all over again, and I beat him the second time. Then I lost to the gym leader. I think I only did it once. I can't remember. But I did go back and do a rematch later, separately. Excuse me. And I lost again. But during my rematch, towards the end of my loss, Violet started to glow. And I was like, oh, snap. She's getting strong. And that was my gym experience.
Yeah. Session 20?
Session 20 is, I believe that's a picture of Derby, isn't it?
No.
That's 21?
No.
Really? Which one's got the picture of Derby? Oh, One Last Day, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't remember. What's that one called?
One Last Day in Xantha.
No, what's the one I'm on called?
One Last Day in Xantha.
Oh, I thought that was the Derby picture.
No. Derby has not been a thumbnail yet.
What's the thumbnail of this one?
It is One Last Day in Xantha is Bentley and Phoebe.
Okay. I know we just spend a little bit more time there. I think this was the supermarket? Or was that Watalonga? I can't remember.
No, that's somewhere in here. I believe that's,
Because I know we spent a little extra time just like, hey, let's make sure there's nothing else we're missing, and I think that was one of them, but I can't say for sure. And we went into a saloon and, like, broke a bag that had a potion in it and that kind of stuff. But I thought that with Derby was the thumbnail because I got him the hat and bag, and that's why I put him on it. But whatever. What's the next one? The biggest.
Tale of
Theodore. Okay. So we left Xantha, and we were in the desert again, and we were hunkering down. Oh, because we were going back to Alluvia. That's right. So we were going back the way we came. Another sandstorm was coming, so we had to wait it out. And then a ghastly blew in, and it could speak English and talk to us. And so we were interacting with some of our Pokemon, like, oh, hey, tell me about Violet. And it's like, oh, she's getting a lot stronger with you, and she's having a great time. I'm like, oh, cool. And then CJ's like, hey, do Crash next. This will be fun. And then we're like, oh, no, there's a lot more to it. So Crash, which is CJ's Totodile, belongs to somebody else. And his actual name is Theodore. And there was some sort of accident or something that got them separated. And Crash was lost, and he found CJ, and he's liked him better so far, so he's been sticking with CJ instead. And that is the Tale of Theodore, as narrated by Remus the Ghastly.
A mistake. 22.
What do you mean, the voice?
The voice.
Oh.
A mistake.
Yes.
Grime and punishment.
So we make it back to Alluvia. There's Team Rocket everywhere, so we have to be super careful. We think they're out looking for us from that big Alluvia battle when Crash bit that dude's leg off. And so we're going to go back in and we decide we need an adult to hide and disguise behind. So Remus goes into CJ and makes him look really old. And we pretend he's our grandpa. That's how we sneak in. We go to a shop. We meet another of the Shea family. CJ and his old man form attempts to buy a knife. And we don't let him, and he's mad forever. Then we find Grimer, and he takes us in the sewers and shows us a secret way. So we don't have to walk up in the street anymore. So we bribe him with garbage and we feed him trash to take us where we want to go. Remus is friends with Xavier, who we met previously. So we're like, let's go because we're all mutual friends and we can get more intel. And what's the next one called? Because I don't remember what happens this one or the next one.
Wild Boys Past.
Okay, so we make it to Xavier, and his mischievous breaks into this like FBI equivalent building to get some files on us, which makes some alarms go ringy dingy dingy. And Xavier looks at the file and he doesn't say much, but he's like, hey, you should be honest with your friends, and I'm going to shut off the security cameras so you guys can escape. Good luck. We just ate a huge dinner, so I apologize. I'm having food baby coma problems now.
You did eat a lot.
So we're escaping, we're running into the wilds, and we get past the security camera, and we go into the next session, Wild Boys Past the CJ story, in which he finally comes clean around a campfire that his parents work for Team Rocket, but he was a runaway, a fact that Milo actually knew, but he wasn't like either 100% certain, and it also wasn't his place. He had heard his parents over talking, because they run the mail system, that Team Rocket was in the Laris region because they had stopped by and a child escaped, and so they were staying to look for him. And I had met CJ in the woods, and he matched the description, so I always had the suspicion that they were the same. But especially after Oriander and like his uneasiness around Team Rocket is like 2 and 2 is 4. That's an easy equation. So finally learned about that and could be open and talk about it, which was pretty intense. But now we know that there's family and siblings that we could encounter because they're looking for their son and or brother. I guess it'd just be or. Son or brother, not and or. You wouldn't be a son and a brother.
That's
different.
That's something else right there.
That's Game of Thrones.
Yep. The Lannisters. That's what CJ stands for. Cersei. 24?
Cersei Joffrey.
Cersei Joffrey.
The worst two.
Skeeshed together. 24. Watalonga.
Watalonga. So when we finally get to rest easy for a little bit, and we meet Remy LaRue, the professional battler turned restaurateur, and his Sneasel Maestro. I set up little buddy, my Cyndaquil, with Maestro to learn how to cook, because little buddy loves sweet things and eating, and so I was like, well, you can make your own fire, so why don't you learn how to cook your own food too? He gets a kick out of it. He enjoys it. Maestro knows very little broken English, and after their time cooking and spending time together, this is a couple sessions later, but I'm going to tell it all in one little arc here. He gives him the nickname of Arjan, which in his language means brother. So I rename little buddy to Arjan. I still call him LB sometimes, but Arjan is his new official name, because that's really awesome. We bring our own ingredients and stuff, and then we get into swamp meat, right?
Correct.
Which is where we meet all the people in the swamp. And such as Rosemarie, the shopkeep, and the pirate man who CJ wants to adopt him really badly. And we learn about those kind of shenanigans and other rumors. We meet what's her name? The old lady. I keep wanting to call her Evelyn, but that's not right. And we ask her about the war, and she doesn't want to talk about it at all. She's just not receptive. And then we meet Fisk, the fisherman, and Bentley gets a fishing pole, and we decide that the next day we're all going to kind of do our own things because everyone kind of wants to see something else in Watalonga. No one really is on the same page. So the next one, the Tales of Watalonga, which is like a 7-hour episode. Everyone does their own thing. So we all start off in the next Rite of Learning, and we learn some new moves and attacks and what have you. I spend a lot of time, like I mentioned, with Arjan in the kitchen and helping him get that kind of path going. And CJ goes and he gets info dumped everything about the war because he doesn't take notes, and so he's punished with having to remember and tell us everything. And he also meets the Rainmaker, which was something that was rumored about in the town that saved the Pokemon from the great flood that happened, and the Pokemon helped the people rebuild this town. So he goes through all that. Phoebe goes to the older lady again to try to get more information about the war and growing plants, and she is stonewalled to oblivion. Just gets absolutely nothing. And then Bentley goes early in the morning to learn how to fish. And that's kind of everyone's little adventure.
Old lady's name is Lillian.
Lillian, yes.
You named her.
That's right, because she knows my dad.
You made that NPC.
Yeah.
You remembered all the other ones, though.
Yeah.
Almost.
The Cajun Crocodiles.
It's not Rosemary. That's a spice.
What's her name?
Anne-Marie.
Anne-Marie. That's pretty close.
Pretty close. All right. 27. War in the Stones.
So that was just CJ dumping everything on us. Basically, watch Ragnarok is my big point. Not that they're directly the same, but it's a better painted story than what I'm about to say. So there's a big fight between people and Pokemon, right? And everyone's vying for these stones because they give these elemental powers, such as the one that Mortar touched that granted him enhanced fire abilities. Basically one for each type. So fire, water, grass, flying, electric, whatever. And this Prime Mind Alakazam was getting powers from each of them and becoming this unstoppable force. And the humans sent a champion nicknamed Blue out to stop him, and they battled. No one saw the battle. No one knows what happens. The war stopped, and the champion never came back. So no one really knows what happened, but no one wants to talk about it. We don't know. We don't really know why no one wants to talk about it. Everyone keeps saying, it was a war and people died, and they don't want to talk about it. But we're prying kids, and we just want to ask why 50 times in a row.
Why?
But why? So yeah, that was just us kind of learning about all of that in this war, and pivotal point in Milo's development because we learn that Pokemon were gaining the ability to capture people. So similar to what people can do to Pokemon, they were doing in reverse. And Milo was very scared because the very thought of he could be walking along a path and a Pokemon could jump out of the bushes, throw a ball at him, and catch him. And then he's just, has to be this thing's servant. And he realizes that he's done that to all of his Pokemon. He's literally just jumped out of a bush and been like, cool ladybug, pa, and caught it. It's literally what he's done. So
just going to work, someone punches you in the face. He
harbors a lot of guilt for that, and that's a huge pill to swallow. And it's definitely something that starts to come up a couple times throughout the series. Next.
All right, your next one is a musical cue. It's Lock Raiders.
Oh, okay. Man, did we already do the bit with the in the jungle or in the swamp where we played as our Pokemon, which was a really cool episode, but we had to explore this marsh because CJ wanted to go see if he could meet the Rainmaker again, because he got some hairs that were super valuable. And we didn't, long story short, but we met a really cool Alolan Muck and got to roleplay as our Pokemon, which was nifty. But moving on from that, we go, because we hear rumors of another one of these Source Stones up in the lake, and there's a pirate guy that's going to go investigate that CJ loves. So we're like, hey, let's go. We'll see if we can learn more about these stones and figure out what's going on. Because someone wants to talk about it. We'll just go. Where were we? We were on the boat. We met Splinter Cell Apom, who knew Pendleton from a previous adventuring group. Who, we met a skeleton of one of them, so that's pretty neat. And we went up towards the lake. We met a Tangela. We got in a battle with the Tangela, or I did, and we had a good time. We did some skeet shooting target practice with Derby throwing some mud discs, and he was whipping them with his vines. And we're like, this dude's pretty cool. And then we're getting close to the lake, and we woke up in the morning. And I missed this chunk, but Bentley got an egg and a special Pokeball out of that rock he sent home. And the egg finally hatched, and it was a little Cubone that he named Manny. Then we got to the lake, and Phoebe and I stayed on the boat. CJ and Bentley went for a little scuba. And, not much was happening on Bentley's end. He was, I think something happened, physically, didn't it? I can't remember. But anyway, the bigger plot point was CJ and Crash were down there, and a huge gator came by, knocked out CJ with a tail swipe, into a building. He knocked his head out and was unconscious. And ate Crash in one whole bite. It's at this point we learn about these Source Stones that grant powers and enhance certain elemental abilities. Each have a guardian that is protecting it. And this guy was the guardian of the Water Source Stone. And after a duel with Crash, he decided, hey, you know what? You are an excellent fighter. And one day, when I'm no longer able to protect this stone, I want you to do it. And in exchange, I'm going to give you a whole bunch of power right now. And you train and get good with it, so when the time comes, you can fill my shoes. And Crash goes, you got it, buddy. And so Crash evolves into a Croconaw, gets super boosted, and at the expense of, at some point in time, he'll have to leave. And we don't know when that is, or what that will entail, so that's a little scary too, but it is what it is. And so now we know a little bit more about these stones. We know we don't want to actually find the location of it. We want to make sure it's safe and protected, so we just go up and we kind of call it an adventure and start to head back.
Okay, that covers 28 and 29.
Cool.
30?
Oh, the other one was the Pact of Lake Lahana, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's 30.
Friend for a friend.
Friend for a friend. So we get back to shore. We're back in Watalonga. We decide to go looking for some shoppage. And Bentley had caught a Magikarp, a big Magikarp. And we met Evander, the very eccentric shopkeeper. And having been sad about missing the purchasable black market Electabuzz, we ask him if he has any Pokemon that he is selling, and he does. And he has the Magnemite from the courthouse that I said wasn't caught yet, because this is when Bentley gets him, and he trades him a Magikarp for that Magnemite, because when he was describing it, Bentley's like, I remember that Magnemite from the courthouse. Give him to me. Let's do a swapski. And through some nice persuasion and upselling about how big the Magikarp was, he was able to make that trade. And Phoebe acquired a Pichu. Pontiki, which is, of course, Greek for mouse. Why don't you know that? Come on. And
come on. Old hat.
So we got some team expansions there in shop before we moved on to gyms.
Correct.
Sweet. So we do gyms. This was the ground type gym, which I was very proud of figuring out before we went because it was a secret.
Everyone thought it was water.
And I found out it was ground like 4 sessions prior, and no one believed me, and is what it is. And so we went in there, and I lost again at the end to the gym leader. After finding out, because I went first, then everyone else went, and then I found out that I was cheated and I didn't get the same rules as everyone else.
This is true.
So my gym was a bit harder than everybody else's.
This was in the day when I was doing the gyms out of notepads, and that's why I don't do the gyms out of notepads. Even though that was the last gym.
Basically, they all fought computer level 5, and I fought computer level 9. And
12.
Yeah, and
Let's be real.
And Milo, after everything he's learned about how he's basically kidnapped these Pokemon out of their homes, and he's subjecting them to these very difficult battles, he's not just going to keep throwing them against a wall. Like, that's not cool. You know, it's just like taking a kid off the street and making him box, and he loses, and they're like, well, you almost did it, so do it again. And so he wasn't going to do that. So he's like, you know what, I'm going to get stronger, and I'm going to come back, and I'll battle you later. So I lost that gym as well. My Xantha rematch, I won.
Yeah, you won.
And then I gave him the badge back.
You won, and then you gave it back.
Yes, okay. I was like, one of those that happened. And anyway, neither here nor there. Yeah, so I lost. Everybody else won. I think CJ was the only one that had to do a redo. Or he was very, very, very close to. But I'm pretty sure he had to redo.
CJ's went really well with Bang.
Yeah, we'll see in his recap. It's not my gym fight. But I lost because it was harder.
This is true.
That's
why I was like, I owe you a salty run back.
Is the next one the biggest of birds?
No.
No?
Damage done delivery.
This one. So I had sent Monty off to, I want to say Green Gate, to deliver a letter because it's part of his challenge to become an official mail bird. It's one of the cities he has to deliver to. And he got back prior to the gym. And in the gym, he did really poorly. And I think I exaggerate it now, because I think I remember watching it, and it wasn't that bad. But he did pretty bad. His ability is super luck, so he gets to re-roll all natural ones, but he has to keep the new result, even if it's a 1. And he rolled a lot of 1s, and he did pretty poor. And so, characteristically, I sat him down, because everyone else was doing pretty good, but he was just dropping the ball. And I was like, look, man, is anything wrong? I looked him over because maybe like from his flight he got injured or something and he wasn't aware of it. And I found a tracker in his wing. So we got that removed and him bandaged up, and we don't know who's tracking us. So we kind of got a little spooked. I had a midnight chat with CJ. We kind of figured, this was Bad News Bears, and maybe, if they've been listening to us, they know our current plan is to go south and go back home. So maybe we should not do that, because if now the tracker's gone, they'll think that's where we're going, and now we can do something else. So that was a huge debate for a while. I think that's pretty much it. That's when we met the mailboat guy. Who was cool, and we were going to take his boat down, and then we decided to not follow our plan. What's the next one? The bird?
The biggest of birds.
The biggest of birds.
32.
We were leaving. We were walking through the woods, and we came across some ugly sounds. Turned out to be drowsy. They separated us a little bit, and long story short, we're all running for our lives. 2 people, I think just CJ, maybe also Crash and Phoebe. For sure CJ and Phoebe get visions of things that are going to happen. And so I don't remember what CJ's is. I think it was the barn or something. And
CJ's... keep going.
Yeah, and Phoebe's is like, she's on the ground and thinks something has exploded, and her Pichu's handing her glasses. Anyway, we're all running for our lives, and we see this huge bird, like just absolutely monstrous, bigger than anything's ever been recorded bird. and it's trying to kill us. So we go hide in this barn, and we find an Eevee in there that's been hiding for its life. It's clearly been there for way too long. We're like, hey, we're gonna help you out. We see Kadabras out there that are walking up with these hoods on, and we're freaking out. This bird is just eating Tauros, full-on Tauros for fun, because it's snacks to him. It's like a handful of M&Ms, just wah, wah, wah. And it eviscerates a Kadabra, and the body's close, so we pull it in, and it gives us visions of how it used the Drowsy to separate us and all this stuff, and we don't really know what's going on. And I just wanted to know what this bird was, like, really bad. Like, can we just figure out what kind of bird this is? And everyone goes, no, you idiot. Birds aren't that cool, and you should stop looking at it. And so, I'm like, fine, let's get out of here. So, that's when that ends. And then the next session...
Covered in yolk.
Covered in yolk. Okay, I know what that is, but we left via a tunnel that Derby dug. And then when we came out of the tunnel, I booped my head into a Psyduck bill. And he knew I was going to be there because he is also psychic. And the Tangela sent him to deliver a message. And it was a card that had his name, Wyman Coover. And that he had become a trainer. And we were like, wait, what? And when did we give him the Pokeball? Was that on the boat?
A friend for a friend.
That was that episode?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm going to jump back to that because it's nuts. So, Tangela battled a Zubat, right?
Yeah.
And he beat it. And he's like, cool, I won. And purely as a joke and curiosity, I gave him a Pokeball. And he threw it at the Zubat. And he caught it. And I was half expecting it to be my Zubat now, because he used my Pokeball, but it belonged to the Tangela. So Tangela is a Pokemon trainer, and he has a Zubat, and he tells Psyduck to tell me he's coming. But I like Psyduck, he's pretty cool. So he starts walking with us, and we have a good time. And then in our journey, we set up camp for the night, and we wake up, and there are eggs everywhere, just dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of eggs, and one gargantuan executor with a long neck. And I think we were talking to it, and someone challenged it to a battle or something, the eggs to a battle, and it was going crazy. And then the executor settled down and through charades said, hey, give me that Magby, because he's pretty strong and I want him on my team. And Bentley went, no. And he's like, yeah, that's going to be a problem. I'm also bigger than you, and I will skeesh you if you do not give him to me. So we did some combat to try to escape. Pretty much all the eggs exploded except for a few. Phoebe caught one of them. Its name is Gleek, because that's what he yells. And we ran away from that because that was terrifying. But Phoebe got a friend out of it, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And you guys got covered in yolk.
Covered. And they all exploded, just covered in yolk.
Mm-hmm. 34. Cheese. Cheesy smell of Mayburn.
Cheesy smell of Mayburn. Mayburn is such a dark blot on Milo's timeline. We go to Mayburn. Spencer, who was in Xantha that CJ met, who he had become friends with, his parents lived here. So CJ was on a mission to go meet his parents. It was just his dad, and it was very depressing, and he didn't want to talk about it. It sounded like him and Spencer weren't in the best relationship, and the mom was gone. And we did learn a little bit about the war from him, but it was still very sad. I can't for the life of me remember if we did anything else, like just as a one-off. But what's the next one called?
The Irresistible Padlock.
Yeah, okay. So during exploration, we came across another farm. There was a nice, very kind gentleman named Dane who had done nothing wrong in his entire life. And there was this room in the or this door in this room that Dane was in, and it had this padlock on it. It just looked super fancy and bougie. And CJ saw a key on Dane's keychain that was in equalness to that padlock. He goes, you know what? I want to get in there, and I want to see what's in there. I'm not going to ask Dane. I'm not going to do anything in a kind way. I'm just going to rob this man blind. So, unbeknownst to Bentley and I, Bentley and Milo go off to have some friendly double battles with his newly captured quillfish and my newly captured Spearow that I named Bullet, because I think the prior episode didn't have, or is it this one that has Dylan as the thumbnail?
This one is generic thumbnail. The last one I do believe is Dylan.
Yeah, so Dylan, who was a friend of my older brother, who I do not get along with very well, was trying to tell me that his birds were better than my birds, and I proved him wrong, and I pushed him. But we were just having some fun battling. Anyway, CJ and Phoebe decide that their master plan is to buy Dane so many cakes that he eats them and falls asleep. Very similar to what's happening in real time right now, actually. So they buy 100 cakes and they wheel them over to Dane. And Dane is already sleeping. And you're like, great, I don't have to execute this part of the plan. We can just go open the door. No, that's not what happens. They go, Dane, hey, Dane, wake up. And they wake him up. And then they Matilda force feed him 100 cakes, and CJ will say no, he ate them of his own volition and shoveled them in his mouth, but I wasn't there, and if you told me you woke him up to feed him cakes, I'm gonna think you forced them down his throat. Anyway, he's so busy crying and eating cakes that CJ just takes the key, and Dane says, please don't do this, all of us will regret it. CJ goes, no thanks, dick, and he opens the door anyway. And lets out the Balrog, and he goes, hey, thanks for letting me out, kid. Here's a special power. And CJ goes, what does it do? And he goes, I'll use it when I need it. Thanks, bye. And he leaves. And CJ goes, that was a good thing that we did. And everyone said, no.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
36. Dial up gets dialed in.
So this was the premonition coming true. The house explodes. They went to go see Spencer's dad, and as they got there, the house blew up, and Phoebe awakens on the ground. After an explosion, Pontiki hands her glasses, and we're like, oh my god, it happened. And who's there but Kaz again, the Kadabra. And we're like, what? Oh no, it wasn't Kaz. It's just a Kadabra. Because Dial-Up gets dialed in, and he does 96 damage to this Kadabra and evaporates it, except for its feet. And we're like, dang, that was close, but it's really sad that that house blew up. And the cops come by, and Phoebe goes, no, wait guys, let me do the talking this time. I've got it, I'm cool. And the cops come up, and they go, hey, what happened here? And Phoebe goes, something came and blew this house up, and then I killed it, and I can prove of my murder because I have its feet. And understandably, the cops go, cool, you're under arrest. Thanks for confessing, murderer. And
someone blew this house up, but it's okay. Quid pro quo. I
killed them.
And got rid of most of the body.
Here's their feet.
Genius.
So, yeah, we're going to attempt a prison break, but we didn't need to because Remus shows up again, and he sets Phoebe free by disguising her as a cop and helping her walk out. Now, obviously, after these events, we decide that we need to leave immediately. We can't wait around in Mayburn. This town is dangerous. But everyone still kind of wants to do some things. And Milo thinks that after everything that's happened, this is a bad idea. And I won't get into it, but I will say rewatch this episode, especially the tail end, and keep a close eye on Milo. He makes a decision that in the moment he thinks is the right thing to do, but it truly messes up his conscience, and he starts vomiting at unacceptable levels. Thankfully, that gets patched in a future update. But yeah, it does not sit well with him, and he goes through some dark times and gets a lot of regret from this. So go back and watch it. It hasn't been brought up in session, so I'm not going to explicitly state it, but if you can find it when it happens,
they're going to go back and look.
There are clues.
Go, what did you do, Joel?
So go watch it. That's that.
All right, 37. Champion of the Fight Pits.
Dang, we got there quick.
Yeah.
So we get to Hillmouth. Big old pit in the ground, and we circle down. Oh, we meet, we still have Evie with us from the barn. We meet a Pseudo-Wudo who's very old, and I'm not very keen for battling, which is funny, because Bentley's always asking, do you want to battle? And he goes, no, I don't. But he keeps asking, he's like, I'll make a man out of you, and Pseudo-Wudo's like, no, I'm good.
I don't need to be a man, I'm wood.
And we go down to the fight pit, and we see all these crazy battles. There's all these like scarred Pokemon. They're just absolute monster powerhouses, and they're duking it out. We see a Mega Tyranitar, a Primal Octillery. It is just mayhem. I do meet and befriend a little BB Skarmory, and we get off well, and the mama says, the fight pit is not the life I want for my child, so I would be okay if she went with you, because you just want to be a mailman, and how dangerous can that be? And I'm like, fair enough.
To be an accountant for the police department.
So that's how I meet Titania, who I name much later, but that is her name. And yeah, that's kind of it for that one. Is the next one Snakes in the Grass?
Yes, it is.
So we decide... no one has remembered this detail that I'm aware of in any of the recaps. We decide that we're going to go up to the top of the fight pit again, and being inspired by the fight pit, have our own kind of battle royale, single elimination little tournament using our babyest of Pokemon. So I was going to use Skarmory, CJ was going to use his new friend Slurp the Fanpea, we were going to have Manny the Cubone, and Pontiki. That was going to be our baby lineup. And it was a pretty quick little matchup. And then Bentley and CJ were like, hey, we're going to fight again. And it was Nipsey versus Crash. And it was the most boring 2 hours of my life.
Yeah.
It was like, I hit you for 5, and it goes, cool, on my turn I heal for 5, and I hit you for 3. All right, on my turn I heal for 4, and I hit you for 2. And
it was a real snoozer.
It was so boring for everyone else. If you watch it, the two of them are getting so frustrated at each other, and they're so into it, and they're metagaming. So if I position here, and I'm going to do this attack at this way, I'm going to hit him, and then Bentley would be like, but Nipsey has dry skin, and water damage heals it. And CJ goes, I didn't specify it was water damage. It's I think we cut a lot out of it, but it was so boring, and they were getting so mad at each other. But Phoebe and I decided to walk off and do anything else. So we go, let's go look in these bushes, see if we can find some berries, because we're low on berries and we need more. We always need more. And little did we know, it led to danger, because why not?
Always.
And it's 3 Ekans, a big purple one, a green one, and a black one. And it is a harrowing experience. And we barely make it out. CJ manages to capture the black one. Everybody else tries to capture any of the other ones, and it does not go well. I think we waste like all of our Pokeballs. And so we're like, alright, that's that. And we go back into the fight pits to heal up. Jordan names his Ekans, CJ names his Ekans Riot with an exclamation mark. And that is that. And I believe the next one is the Siege.
You are correct.
So it ends with some explosions, and we see some Team Rocket blimps overhead. And the next session is a huge battle between us and teaming up with all of the Fight Pit Pokemon versus a huge Team Rocket army. And that episode is awesome, and I'm just going to say go watch it. That's it.
Okay. 40. Snubble picks a side.
Ah, yes. So, on our way out, we leave the Fight Pits. We're heading towards the next town, and we come across a couple Pokemon. One we thought was a Igglybuff or Jigglypuff, but it was actually a Cleffa, and it had some pipes, and it was singing for us, and we had a good time. And then we came across a Snubble. Now, Snubble, I can't remember the logistics of it, but essentially, Jordan's Houndour and Snubble were kind of picking on each other, and Eevee and my Houndour were hanging out together, and Jordan's Houndour was jealous, so it told Snubble to go bite Milo's Houndour in the leg, and it went over and did, and it helped, and it was basically Growl's wingman and trying to help him hang out with Eevee. So that happened, and Jordan ended up catching Snubble and named him Bark.
Named for the sound he makes.
I think we got, I think this was Meowth too.
There is a high chance that...
I know Jordan caught like a Pokemon in 3 sessions in a row. So at some point in here or in the next one, he also catches a Magician Meowth who does a lot of tricks and tossing of coins. Wimpimble. Which came from Jordan's awful misspelling of Weepinbell, or mispronunciation.
A criminal mispronunciation.
Yeah, he said a Weepinbell, but he went a Wimpimble, and then we said, is that Meowth's name? And he went, yup. So that became canon, and that's how Wimpimble got his name. Mm-hmm. This is 41.
41.
Shipping secrets. It's the first episode when we got the new microphones. Psyduck.
Upgrades.
Wadsworth is on the thumbnail. I remember that one. So we get to the town. I can't for the life of me remember the name of the town.
Starts with an F. Ends with an R.
Falchester? Is it? I feel like it wasn't, but you're like, oh wait.
No, it is.
Okay.
It's Falchester.
So we get to Falchester. I meet the ribbon giver for Falchester, because it's Monty's task, my Murkrow, to become a male bird. He has to fly to 3 cities. This is one of them, and this is the specific gentleman that hands out the ribbons. So I talked to him for a bit. Maybe he knew something about the tracker. He didn't. I wanted to know if I sent him Pokemon that were not birds, if he would give them ribbons. He looked at me like I was weird. Tried our best. I showed him Titania, which kind of got him to open up a little bit. Talked with him. We had a good time. And then Psyduck, Wadsworth, my friend, went wandering off. He was drawn to something, and I went to go see what he was doing. And while that was happening, Bentley went ocean fishing, and he caught a Staryu that was able to absorb the elements that missed him in attack and become that type, or shoot it back rather. And so Wadsworth is drawn to this shipping container. We don't know why or what's in it. And so I go get everybody else, and we go over to look at it again. And Manny, the little Cubone, somehow his shadow just creates a portal, and he just walks right in there, and he brings back this ugly, fleshy Pokeball thing. And we take it to the woods because we don't know what it is. We don't want to set it out in the middle of a town. And we open it, and there's a black Abra inside. He looks kind of like oil in the way he glistens, that rainbowiness. And his name is Moxie Turna, or in Tia's notebook, Mac Destema. And he tells us all about the war, way more than what we'd been getting from anyone else, because he thought he was still in that time. And we had to tell him that wasn't the case. But turns out it wasn't even the War of the Architects that we thought it was. It was the war before the war. Go watch Ragnarok. And So yeah, that was crazy. And we decide we want to go talk to or figure out more about the boat that was shipping these. Because what else is in the other containers? If this was in one of them, like, are you kidding me? So CJ and I go up to talk to them. We're like, let us speak to your captain. They're like, yeah, okay, stun gun. Get in the boat. And I fainted. I acted like I was fainting. Did nothing. Didn't help us at all.
Milo just...
Next one's rescue at sea. Rescue mission at sea, something like that. And so Phoebe and Bentley are going to try to rescue us on this boat. CJ and I meet a couple undercover detectives who are trying to do a sting operation on this boat. They help set us free. We get up top. We're about to bail, and then we see Bentley and Phoebe flubbing their rescue mission, and them getting caught. So, like, now we have to help. So we're trying to help them. Mox gets harpooned in the chest, and we're like, all right, we just need to leave. We get in the little boat, and we're sailing away, and I spot Sudowoodo and Evie on the shore. And I'm like, shoot, well, we can't leave them here. And then other people were like, no, just leave them behind. And after everything that Milo had been through and all the stuff from the war and that guilt of catching Pokemon, he thought, I'm not going to uproot these Pokemon from their lives and then leave them nearby this town where they're like shipping things illegally and doing experiments. They cannot be left behind. So I flip the boat around, I pick them up, and we're leaving. And that closes the gap enough to have us have a huge battle at sea. And it is nuts. We're doing like Pirates of the Caribbean whirlpool boat battles. We're shooting harpoons at each other. I nearly take a headshot. I almost die as a character. Yanma Evinrude gets harpooned and he's being reeled in. And they catch him. He's already caught. They use a special Pokeball that catches Yanma. But not only that, when Bentley goes to reach for his Pokeball, it's gone. Like, it took the Pokeball and put it inside. So Bentley no longer had Yanma at any point. And so we turned the boat around again for direct conflict. And we fought them. In the whirlpool, we got the Pokeball back from Yanma, barely. I think that was Monty's success, was getting that. Some dude fell down, like one of the bad guys was falling in the whirlpool, injected himself with something, and then disappeared, which was wild. I still don't think we know the answer to that one. And then we took a guy hostage, Dunlock, and we were going to grill him. And so we're sailing off towards the wilds, just uncivilized area. And we're grilling Dunlock, and they were like, hey, let's see if Wadsworth can, like, my Psyduck can see inside his brain. Maybe we can get some more information. And one of two things happened. Either Wadsworth was a little too invasive and accidentally killed him, or the guy was trained in being able to not give up this information, or had some sort of like cyanide pill and killed himself. But either way, he died. And we got to land and we buried him, and I think this is the next session now.
Life and death in the wild.
Yes. So we get there and we give him a burial. This is the death part of life and death. And Gleek the Execute does what we named a burial danceroo, and did a little ceremony for dead Dunlock, and it shot this beam into the sky, and we were like, wait, what? That was unexpected. Later, to then find a Ghastly roaming around, which is the life portion of life and death. And CJ can speak to it, and nobody else can. And we figure this is because he let that thing out of the barn when he harassed poor innocent Dane. And yeah, so we were there hanging out on the beach. Manny the Cubone went to go explore. He went in a little cubby hole and found some Krabby, who from Cubone's perspective were not the nicest of Krabbies and were probably going to eat them. But they came out and Cubone smashed them into sushi. And then Milo came up, saw that we had just murdered a Krabby for no reason. And it was not, what's the word? I guess defended very well. It didn't sell me. So Milo is very upset that now we've potentially killed a person We've been killing Pokemon. Like, we're not better than these people we're fighting. What are we doing? And so that's that. The next one, I believe, is Lieutenant Commander Duck. And we meet a Farfetch'd and his troop of Doduo, and he's kind of like a general. This was pre-Sword and Shield, so he wasn't a Surfetch'd, but they're like as close as he can be, while still being a Farfetch'd. And we fight with him, we battle with him, and he knights Mortar, which was pretty cool. And I asked him, I tried to tell him about mail delivery, and I wanted to see if he would be like a ribbon giver like other townspeople. And I explained it poorly, and it did an overall bad job, and he said no, but oh well. And that's that. Is the next one Home Away from Home?
Yes, it is.
Cool. So the next one,
Actively hot.
we start to meet some Gen 3 Pokemon to just beat around the bush. Some C-Dot that try to dupe out of trees and land on our heads. And I can't remember what else besides my Talo friends. There's 2 Talo that I befriend and meet, and they're really cool. And, you know, another bird on the team, why would I not want to be friends with them? But, you know, after everything that's happened and everything I know, I don't want to just throw a Pokeball and rip them out of their homes. I want to befriend them, see if they want to come with me of their own volition. So we're just hanging out right now, having a good time, and we're meeting some interesting Pokemon. We meet a Smeargle, who's really rad, and he has been going and breaking these Gen 3 Pokemon out of captivity from the town where we met Mox. So he's been kind of this like Batman-esque vigilante, doing a killer job, and he's really cool. He painted us some pictures and whatnot. In the next episode, I think is 2 Birds, 1 Stone. Mm-hmm. It's where we meet our second guardian, the Tropius, who's the guardian of the Grass Stone. Go watch that one. That one's really good. There's some tragic backstory there. I want to leave that one at that. But we also learn that as the aforementioned experiments occurred, one of them was on my Talo friends, and they cloned one of them. So that's why there's 2. They're like the same bird, just cloned. And I find their Pokeball. They already have one. It's a friend ball, but they can both go in it and share it. So that's how they end up on my team, and I'm very happy to have them. I end up naming them Atticus. So like the bird's name is Atticus, but there's 2 of them. So to differentiate, one is Addy and one is Icus, but together, like just as a thing, they're Atticus.
Biggest Icus.
And that's that one.
Okay.
47 is it the Crash thumbnail?
It is.
I don't remember what the name is.
It rhymes with the rhyme and the limerick.
Oh, the Mime and the Mimic. CJ happened to get one of those Pokeballs that they got Evinrude with that stole him and stole the Pokeball. And we know Crash belongs to someone else. So what if he caught Crash, then he could get Crash's Pokeball, and then we'd be all good. So CJ goes, I'm in, let's do it. This is in the middle of the night, by the way. Catches Crash, doesn't come back out. No Pokeball, no Crash, just an empty Pokeball now. He starts freaking out. Obviously, which is, anyone would. And with the help of Remus and Wadsworth, we locate a nearby compound where we think they're being held captive, which is weird because we think we're on a nature reserve and there's nothing around. This is just wild. So what's out here? Lo and behold, it's like a camouflaged compound that you can't really see. And we come across some dudes, and they're hunting, I think it was like a Nidoking or something. And it looked like the Nidoking was on a rampage and just knocking down trees, so we thought we would go help them. And they allowed it at first for a bit. But then we kind of thought maybe these guys are not the good guys, and we were correct. And turns out these soldier people were Ditto, which is the mimic. And they could speak, but it seemed like they could only repeat things that they've heard, similar to a parrot. So we're trying to communicate with one that we had met, and it was very funny. It's where the inside joke for Hot Toddy came from. So that was a fun one. And we find out that there's this super devious Mr. Mime, and he walks up to one of the dudes. We're in hiding. We're not there. But we see him walk up to one of these Ditto guards. Finger guns, Mime pulling the trigger, and he kills the bodyguard, just dead. And we're like, whoa, this is a threat. We need to come up with a better plan before we just go in guns blazing. So the next one, which is Phantom of the Compound, we go in, we split up a little bit. CJ's going to go save Crash. We're all going to go into other buildings because I think we learned that, like, if one alarm went off, they'd all go off. So we're like, let's split up and hedge our bets. Because if we each can, like, free a Pokemon, then we're doubling our numbers for when we fight Mr. Mime. We basically do that. Basically. Everyone kind of frees some Pokemon, except for Phoebe. The short story is Oddish blows up the building with his poop. And...
long story, very short.
Kind of, sort of. So
really explain the plot in 1 sentence. Oddish blows up a building with his poop.
So we free a whole bunch of Pokemon. We go out. Mr. Mime's out there, and we're like, oh god, we gotta kill him. And we're fighting him. And one of the Pokemon we freed was a Lickitung. And Lickitung goes up and just eats Mr. Mime. Just straight up eats him. And we're like, sick, we did it. And then Mr. Mime goes, knock, knock, and opens his stomach like a door. Walks out all happy. Guts spill out. And we're like, oh my god. And it's just mayhem. And he gets Mortar, and he's holding his finger gun to him, and he's going to count to 3. And Milo's perspective, we're watching, and he sees Bentley stand there in shock and not able to move, and he doesn't do anything. But Milo can't help but think, if I'm in that situation, I'm doing everything but standing still. So he takes that very seriously, and he does. He pulls the trigger and kills Mortar the Magby, and it is a harrowing moment. But then we knock him out. A Scyther that we freed cuts him to tiny pieces, and Manny, who I hinted at earlier, has like ghost shadow powers, kind of possesses Magby and helps in a way resurrect him. But in doing so, Magby has evolved into a Magmar, but he's kind of purpley and a little weird looking, but we're not really sure. But we're just happy he's alive at this point. We pay respects to those that died during this fight. Milo gets very upset and just starts yelling at the sky at one point. We get a computer, a Team Rocket tablet that is like, hey, sign in and you can use this as a PC. And metagaming it, it's like, cool, thanks for the gift. But Milo is not going to like let this sit lying down. He's like, you guys are dumb if you ever use that. And no one ever uses it. But yeah, then we move along towards New Tree. I think next is when we come across our friend Becath in the Patreon. What's up, buddy?
Mm-hmm. One last day in the woods.
Yep. So
these woods.
Yes.
Are safe.
Yeah, that was a really good one.
Mm-hmm.
That was so funny. So anyway, unrelated. We meet up with a buddy, an actual friend who's like a forest ranger, and he has a Lairon that he rides, super cool. And he kind of keeps the whereabouts of all the Pokemon in the reserve. In the compound, I had met a Girafarig, which is what the reserve mostly had. And this one had escaped and wasn't really part of the reserve anymore, so he kind of joined my team here. And we did some things, but most notably we went and saw Wyman Coover again, the Tangela, whose team had expanded. He had at least 3 that I can recall. And we all did some battles with him, and it was great to see him again, and crazy to think he's been catching stuff still. And we meet up with Diane again, and her daughter, Samantha, who can float, but we're not sure if anyone knows that she can. CJ, it was really funny when we were talking about it, because we're like, hey, your daughter can float. And she's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, well, I can shoot laser beams from my eyes. We're playing superheroes. And like just played it off really well. And that was funny. And then...
kids will be kids.
Yep. And I think that's it. Because there's another thing I'm thinking of, but I think that comes later.
Exercising demons.
Okay, so Diane sees Mortar, and she's like, something's not right. I think there's a demon inside this thing, and we need to perform an exorcism. And so we have to battle Mortar, who becomes very evil at the idea, which makes sense. And we beat him up, and an actual ghost comes out. And we expected it to be Mr. Mime, but it was not Mr. Mime. And Skarmory does amazing in this battle. That's a big highlight for me. And then the other thing from a Milo development standpoint is, once again, coming off of this gun to the head moment, we're fighting this ghost now, but Mortar is just lying dead unconscious in the middle of the field in the middle of this combat, and no one's doing anything about it. So I do my best, burning my hands a little bit to drag him away. Thankfully I have a bird glove on one of my arms, and I can try to get him out of harm's way, because that poor Pokemon's been through enough. But yeah, we free the ghost of the Kadabra that we evaporated, except for its feet. We defeated the ghost, and yeah. And then I can't remember which one's next. It's either like Bones to pick, or that's the one after.
That's the one after.
Okay.
There's one in between.
What's that one?
A Jurassic Expedition.
Okay, similar deal. We went, this was, Jordan had his baby. Happy birthday to your baby, because it's already been a year. That's wild. Crazy. Jordan wasn't there. We went digging for fossils, because we heard that was a thing nearby. And we found the parts for this gargantuan, huge, grizzly bear-sized turtle thing. And we were debating if we wanted to bring it back to life or not, or attempt it. I think Phoebe and I were apprehensive because we had just gone through this mime battle, this exorcism, fighting of ghosts, all this crazy stuff, and the last thing we wanted to do was unleash a grizzly-sized turtle and have another big battle experience, so that didn't end up happening. And then that went on to Bones to Pick, where we went back again, and with the help of Derby pulled up 3 fossils, and Bentley had to pick which one of the 3. And he picked one, I can't remember which one it was. And we also went, because I think Desmond said the Ghastly that had been created out of the dead guy said that he had met a friend there, so we went to go check that out. And we didn't see anything, I don't think. What's the next one? Blast from the Past?
Yes.
Okay. So, Bentley starts getting these migraines, and it turns out that Kaz was back, and he was able to, like, punch Bentley's soul into another realm. So, a very intricate fight there in trying to show Kaz, save Bentley, all that stuff. There's a lot going on. But yeah, we'll move on to the next one.
Wandering Thoughts.
This is where we met the friend, apparently, that Desmond had, which turned out to not be true, but it was a Duskull who was able to remove thoughts, memories from our heads, and we would forget them, and he would eat them. Delicious. And
Delicious, nutritious memories.
yes, and we, of course, it was like kids sniffing markers. We're like, that's interesting. Now you do it, but we'll like let it happen a little bit longer. and it was weird. So
That's what you forget.
Jordan, CJ, went bop with the disc he acquired from the thing he set free out of poor innocent Dane's farm. and it killed it. It wiped it off the face of the planet. It was gone, it evaporated, and there were just thought strands left. So we collected them, and we found their owners as a Rattata and a Bellsprout, I believe. And we gave them back their memories. They were very grateful. We were able to kind of do that little side quest, which was neat. Is the next one food for thought?
Yes, it is.
That one's one of my favorites. We meet a Nuzleaf. Wood Boy.
Wood Boy!
No one has remembered Wood Boy.
He was a gift.
And Wood Boy's freaking out because he's a Nuzleaf, so he has the leaf on top of his head. And he's in a giraffe rig sanctuary, right? So he's been set free by the Smeargle. He's wandering around the sanctuary, happy to have his freedom. But then every giraffe rig in the area, which there's lots of, just want to eat his leaf because it looks tasty. So he hasn't slept in who knows how long. And he just doesn't want his leaf to be eaten. It's terrible. So we get him shelter. We try to give him some rest, some food, get him out of the area. So that was that one. It was the shenanigans of that. I know there was a big joke about, hey, take a nap here. Don't worry. I'm going to keep my eye on you. And then I left immediately. But it was just to set up my friends because I was going to have my Pokemon. I wanted Monty, my Murkrow, to train my Spearow and my baby Skarmory. I wanted to see how he would do as a teacher. So I set them up outside and then I went back in to hang out with Sleeping Wood Boy. That's that one for me.
Alright, next one. Winter's coming.
Okay. What number is this?
56.
Okay. Okay, so we're almost there. I'm at an hour and a half, so I'm trying to not go too much longer here. Winter's coming. We hear that there is an expert on ghost things to the north in Beavisby. So we think that they can maybe help with Bentley's otherworldly possessions and maybe CJ's ghost powers. So a little 2-for-1 there. So we start making our way north. It's very chilly. We get some snow clothes. On the way we see a Sneasel. He's playing a little flute. And we're like, Maestro is cool from Watalonga. Maybe he's cool too. And it wasn't cool at all. It was a trap. And they attacked us viciously. And yeah, it was very close. We knocked out enough that the rest were going to run away. But CJ caught one of them to interrogate. So that was the first instance of one of us catching a Pokemon without the intention of actually using them. And we made it up towards Beaversby. What's next?
Next one, Seeing Double.
Okay, so we get up to north to the lighthouse. We meet some friends. We meet Frost Viking. Hello, my friend. Another fine Patreon fellow. And we know that the person who's the ghost expert is at the Beaversby College. So we want to go to meet with them there. And so we go and do that. There's some other... Obviously, there's tons of other things that happen in every session. I'm just trying to distill it to a quick recap. But like we met like Pogo the Delibird. Derby played a prank. We met a Glaceon that was translucent. All sorts of stuff. Anyway, we go to the college. And we meet the ghost expert. Her name is Kaya. And after a few moments of speaking with her, I wasn't there at this moment, it's just Bentley and CJ. A second Bentley appears, and there's two of them. And it becomes a game of I'm the real Bentley, no I am, how are we going to do this? And that's how that one ends.
Very good. The Dark Side, 58.
So this was... a lot of mayhem figuring out which Bentley was the real Bentley and which one was not. There were some shenanigans with Kaya while this was happening. Everything kind of gets settled for a little bit. CJ's asking questions. He's getting riddles as answers, which, as far as CJ goes, is the worst advice you can give. He did not have any success answering any of the questions. He ended up giving up and sitting in the corner of a room for a bit. Bentley looked at some newspapers. Things were getting weird, and then I noticed she was doing something with her hands, like Doctor Strange-esque, and that was my tipping point, because I didn't I was not relaxed in this environment. So she was doing these hand motions, and I thought, I don't like this. We should pin her down and see what's really happening. Because similar to, my other ghost experiences, which include killing and resurrecting a man, possession of one of our Pokemon friends, deception in possession. Why would this be a good thing? So let's pin her down. Let's ask some questions. So we go to pin her down. We miss terribly. It backfires immensely. And then she sucks us into another dimension and goes, fine, I guess we're fighting to the death. So never was my intention to kill this woman. I just wanted to pin her down and ask questions. She's the one that decided this is going to be a fight. I want to go on record and say that if you watch it, that's what happened. And we fight her. There are some other goofy things that happen. Derby nearly dies. I nearly die. Howl steps up, helps out, and evolves into a Houndoom, which was really cool. And he kills her. And I'm like, thank you, Howl, because she was going to kill me if he didn't. So CJ goes up and pseudo-absorbs her essence into his ghost hand. And we're going into the next session now.
Next up.
In which he... What's it called?
Stay
Yes.
Frosty.
So he opens a door that gets us out of the Shadow Realm. But it's just into, like, the snow. Think Monsters, Inc. when they get banished. And Bentley and Phoebe step out. CJ shuts the door. He interrogates me on why we murdered his mentor. And then after that gets settled, he opens another door and we go out, but we're nowhere near where Phoebe and Bentley are, so we end up getting split up. We figure we'll just go, because we see lightning in the sky, we're like, we're not going to go to a storm, it's just suicide. So we go back to town. On the other side of things, Phoebe and Bentley goes, we should signal where we are, so let's summon a lightning bolt. Maybe they'll come to it. So they summon a lightning bolt, to which we think is a storm, and they start following Nubster. Nubster leads them to a cave. All things aside, they go into the cave. He fights a Cloyster who's been powered up by the ice source stone. He's not really a guardian per se, but he does have the powers of the ice stone. They get into a duel. Bentley and or Mortar are frozen solid. It becomes a 1v1 potato. Nubster...
That's a deep cut for 3 people on the planet.
Nubster and Cloyster get on a 1v1. And Nubster wins, of course, by the skin of his teeth. Because Nubster only performs if all of his friends are knocked out. That's how Nubster works.
He wants all the glory and none of the blame.
So Nubster wins. He evolves. He gets Ice Source Stone tusks, which is super cool. And they make their way back to town finally on a super powered Nubby Boy. Session 60.
Getting schooled.
Getting schooled.
The last one.
Yeah, Bentley really wants to show this one professor variant Pokemon, such as the Staryu or Manny and whatnot, and no one else is really having it. So we decide we're going to head back to New Tree to maybe take on the gym, catch up with our friend Bagels. I'm not going to tell you who Bagels is, you just have to watch the episodes. And we go back. Anyway, beforehand, I don't remember when I did it, but I sent Monty on his final mission to get his third and final ribbon. And I sent him, I sent Violet, my Ladian, I sent Spiro, named Bullet, and I sent Atticus. Because I figured, let's get them all ribbons, boys. We're in this to expand the male business. So all 4 of them went. I get back to New Tree, and my friends are back. They've made it on their journey. However, they are very near death. Atticus is fine. He's just chirping away. Had a time of his life. Monty's okay. Spiro's okay. And Violet had like 3 points of exhaustion, 1 HP. Not having it. So we take him to the hospital. I'm freaking out. they're healing most of my Pokemon. Ladian is on like IVs, life support, barely hanging in there. I'm in there just at her bedside, hoping for the best. And then we hear this noise and go on the hallway. It's a Jack in the Box. And my heart starts pounding. I start breathing heavily. Interestingly, no, I'll save it because this will be post-show for 61. But it's a fun parallel, and I'm shocked no one's pointed it out yet, and I'm curious if anyone will pick up on it from this recap. What is happening here, because it's a really fun development point, and I'm really sad we've had to wait a year on this. But there's a Jack in the Box, and it's making noise. We all kind of hear it, and we hear, "It's showtime," and then the session ends, and it's been a year. So we'll see you.
It has been a year.
We'll see you in the next recap or in session 61.
Depending on what happens next.
This has been my recap.
A hefty one at that.
Bye.
Ooh.